Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Happy President's Day to everyone out there. Hopefully you have the day off. If you're at work, then, thanks for working hard. Solar wind speed today is right around 525 kilometers per second. I predicted a few shows back, or actually a video I did about wind speeds topping out to 625 last night. They peaked out at 626 kilometers per second. So we did see storm levels last night, a G1, minor one. The KP was at a 5. Since then it has dropped down. We do see an increase in solar flux, proton flux earlier as well, when we had that surge in KP indices where we made almost a G2 level storm last night. So but we have since subsided. We're back down to a 3. I think Space Weather is saying 2. So the storm, the G1 storm, should be over. But, and here's a chart here to show you kind of how the solar winds did arrive a little bit higher and are now starting to subside a little bit. We're down just above 520 right now, 520 kilometers per second. Density is also starting to lower as well. Let's see. Taking a look at the SDO, as much as I love to, I wanted to point out real fast on the SDO that we're the effects of the coronal hole wind stream that we are feeling right now is off to the right at the 2 o'clock position if you're looking at the sun. Notice we got a small one just above the equatorial region that is opening up, and in certain other angstroms it almost looks like that the sun, the corona is weak right now and it's being peppered with minor coronal holes that are forming. So this is something to stay tuned, watch. We might have some more G1 type level storms over the next several days to come. Sun is blank. This is 2 days in a row without a sunspot. That'll make 20 days on the year for 2018 without a sunspot. The other day I have a video that I haven't decided if I want to upload or not, but I saw on the Weather Channel they were talking about the grand solar minimum that's coming up, and that the man-made global warming is so bad right now that this grand solar minimum will not have a cooling effect. They're admitting that the grand solar minimum will put a halt to the global warming, but they're saying that the global warming is so strong that the grand solar minimum will not have a reverse effect on our climate. And the reason for her statement was that we have seen declined solar activity over the past 40 years and we're still recording record warm temperatures. Well, I beg to differ on that, and I'm going to jump over here to spaceweather.com real quick just to show you guys too. Here is a look at our sunspot numbers on the year for the past 8 years, 9 years. So if you go back to 2014, you'll see that we had 1 day without a sunspot. That means every day in 2014 we had sunspots. Okay, so I don't see what she's talking about decreased solar activity 4 years ago. So let's go back to 2015. There wasn't a day without sunspots. So again, where is the decreased solar activity? We go to 2016. Now we're starting to see 32 days without sunspots. And that's where we started to see the cold records start to come out. 2017, there was a lot of cold records shattered. We had 104 days of days without sunspots. And so far in 2018, 40% of the year, and it's young, but look at the numbers. We've been from less than 1%. Oh, we have a phone call here. Thank you. Not right now. The joys of live shows. Anywho, so you see here, folks, there is no diminished solar activity in 14 and 15, but in 16 and 17, now here's where the Weather Channel likes to hang their hats on, okay? They like to brag about 2016 being the second warmest record year on satellite, and 2017 the third warmest year on satellite record. But let's look at it this way, folks. So if, I don't remember if it was 14 or 15, but it was one of these years that it was supposedly the warmest year on record, okay? sunspots every day. Makes sense. We see a slight decrease in sunspots in 16. And we start to notice colder temperatures in 16. As well as we had that freak polar vortex in 2014. So I do understand that sunspots don't always mean warmth. But the point I'm making here is that we have experienced some extreme cold in 2017. Right now in 18 and 19, we're expected to go, it's possible, a whole year without a sunspot in the next 2 years. We could see that kind of activity or lack of activity from our sun. But what I was getting at is that Weather Channel likes to hang their hats on 16 being the second warmest year and 17 being the third. Well, what's the coincidence in that? The second warmest year, because why? We see sunspotless days. And then the third warmest, it goes down again in 17. So you can call it what you want, warmest, third, second. The point is that 16 was the second warmest, 17 it was the third warmest. Folks, there's a trend going on, and it's going down. Just like our TSI right now. And this has been kind of remarkable because we lost a little bit of information around January 20th. Got it back, and it was there was a 1361.12 in the beginning of February. As of right now, this is the most current information that we have on TSI readings as of February 11th, 2018. Our TSI reading is now at a 1360.9. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that just a few days ago, it was at 1361. It dropped slightly to 1360 2 days later. And then on the 10th, it still dropped below. And now today, or I'm sorry, the 11th. So this thing's about 8 days behind. It's always lagging about 8 days. That's the best you can get on the TSI readings. But folks, there's a trend right now that's starting to happen. You can see it at the end of this graph. The decline in the spots. Oh, I'm sorry, the decline in TSI. That's a significant drop. We haven't seen a look at the sharpness of this drop compared to our past numbers here. I guess we're due for a peak drop in TSI as September of 2017 was the last big one that we had. We had 2 in the spring and early summer. So this is about to get interesting as far as how far below 1360 we actually reach. John Casey's, if you were following this source right here, having the TSI at 1360 even and below is when you know we're going to be in this minimum, according to his work. And if you're looking at NASA's data, which they have theirs is like around a 1365, 1364. Once you see it drop down to 1363 and 1362, that's when you know that it will be grand solar minimum. So a lot of folks right now, a lot of different information. I've heard that the grand solar minimum doesn't start for another decade. To be fair to that statement, yes, there will be another peak in cycle 25, but when the peak is predicted to be 50 sunspots or less, that's not much of a peak. So I really stand firmly with thinking that we are beginning the grand solar minimum. We are in decline. That means to me we have started this process, and the slight increase in sunspots by 2025 to me is not going to be as significant as it would have been in solar cycle 24. So I just wanted to point that out real fast. And finally, I want to go to the tropical tidbits here. What concerns me with this GFS model, and this is strictly GFS, and this is only going out a few days. As you see today, we've got heavy rain in northwest Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Oklahoma. All right, pay attention to this area, guys. This entire area, Ohio, Tennessee, Kentucky, you get like another wave of this moisture too. But this area was what concerns me the most with flooding. And I'm just going to take it a little bit slow here. This storm here has moved out. This is Tuesday now. So you see this front almost lifts up. The jet stream's being really funny right now. But this moisture lifts up, but it doesn't move really. And then this is what concerns me later Tuesday. We start to see a development of yellow and orange. That's anywhere from 4 to 10 inches of rain, 4 to 8 inches of rain right here in this region, okay? Stay with me here. Move it just a little bit further later in the day into Wednesday. Now look at that. Now we're talking about 10 inches plus in the same spot that was predicting 6 inches. We move it just a little bit further. This moisture becomes very apparent now as we head further into the south, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Texas. You're going to get in on the action now. But look at the wide band of rain. Now this is the 21st, okay? Remember, this starts all the way back on the 19th. This area is getting saturated with rain starting today. Gets a bit of a break in Indiana anyway, but Illinois and Missouri definitely staying the constant. And then as we keep going through this forecast, the GFS breaks it up into 2 swaths of very heavy rain coming to this area that's been raining now for 2 days. So we move into later in Wednesday and look at that. Now you've got central Indiana into southeast, into Illinois, into Missouri, into Arkansas, Texas. You're starting to get pounded now near the Houston area. Thankfully, everything east has been dry because last week, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, New York, we got that moisture and we got some flooding out of that. So thankfully, we've gotten a little bit of chance to dry out. But look at this. As we move further in, that's later in the day, the 21st, we see a bit weakening going on here, thankfully. But it just stalls out. This storm system just kind of hangs out. And now this is the wave I was talking about where Kentucky and Tennessee will get a second wave of moisture. Not as heavy as the original batch that just west of you that got. But then it finally starts to move out of here on Thursday. But by Friday, we have another system forming. And look where the heavy rain is setting up over again by Friday. So we're talking about another 4 to 6 inches of rain in the region. It's already seen probably close to a foot. It is possible. I'm not saying it's guaranteed. It's possible. Into Saturday, still seeing some heavy rain sweeping through the Ohio Valley into Pennsylvania. Now this is where Pennsylvania's got to watch out because they've got a lot of flooding in Pittsburgh. But like I said, we've had some time to dry out in that region. So hopefully that's overdoing it. GFS is normally bullish when it comes to precipitation. So let's hope they're being bullish here. Moving along into Saturday of next weekend, again. Do you see a pattern here, folks? Another swath of heavy rain in the same areas. Now it's moving a little bit further east. So Pennsylvania, you're going to get some action late week, next week into Ohio. And then, of course, moving through the weekend, still heavy rain through Sunday. And on the back heels of that storm that's moving off to the coast by late Sunday is another low pressure system that's getting its act together. More rain, 4 to 8 inches of rain, again, in that region. Pennsylvania, starting late next week, it looks like you're getting back on the wet track again. West Virginia. So the flooding coming back to the East Coast is a huge concern right now. And looking out into the 26th of February, and I've seen models that go past the 27th into the first week of March, we will start to see that colder air move back into the northeast and the east as well as the southeast as well. North Carolina, you guys aren't out of the woods yet. The winter is still here. Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, Ohio, Indiana, as far back as the northern plains, Iowa and up. Winter is still here. Right now we're experiencing a little bit of a spring-like lull, but with that lull, we are seeing tons of moisture. So the big concern here in the Midwest into the east, the Midwest is going to have flooding concerns for the next 7 to 10 days. And then that flooding concern starts to move a little bit more east after about 7 days. So both parts of the country are going to get an equal amount of moisture here within the next 7 to 14 days. Something definitely to keep our eyes on, folks. All right, guys, just want to step on and do a quick little update. Hope everyone's having a great President's Day, and we will talk soon. the effects of the coronal hole wind stream that we are feeling right now is off to the right at the 2 o'clock position if you're looking at the sun. Notice we got a small one just above the equatorial region that is opening up, and in certain other angstroms it almost looks like that the sun, the corona is weak right now and it's being peppered with minor coronal holes that are forming. So this is something to stay tuned, watch. We might have some more G1. Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Happy President's Day to everyone out there. Hopefully you have the day off. If you're at work, then thanks for working hard. Solar wind speed today is right around 525 kilometers per second. I predicted a few shows back, or actually a video I did about wind speeds topping out to 625 last night. They peaked out at 620. Storm should be over, but, and here's a chart here to show you kind of how the solar winds did arrive a little bit higher and are now starting to subside a little bit. We're down just above 520 right now, 520 kilometers per second. Density is also starting to lower as well. Let's see. Taking a look at the SDO, as much as I love to, I wanted to point out real fast on the SDO that we're 26 kilometers per second. So we did see storm levels last night, a G1, minor 1. The KP was at a 5. Since then it has dropped down. We do see an increase in solar flux, proton flux earlier as well, when we had that surge in KP indices where we made almost a G2 level storm last night. So but we have since subsided. We're back down to a 3. I think space weather is saying 2. So the storm, the G1 type level storms over the next several days to come. Sun is blank. This is 2 days in a row without a sunspot. That'll make 20 days on the year for 2018 without a sunspot. The other day I have a video that I haven't decided if I want to upload or not, but I saw on the Weather Channel they were talking about the grand solar minimum that's coming up, and that the man-made global warming is so bad right now that this grand solar minimum will not have a cooling effect.